Okay. Hi there. Hello, guys. So we are live now. Just before get started, we will wait for a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes more for all registered participants. So maybe some entertaining during that time. Short 2 questions to those who already have joined us. Can you let me know if you are hearing me correctly, and if you are seeing us correctly? Because and if the first slide of presentation is visible for you. Anyone? You can use the chat section. Hi. Cool. So I'm assuming that you are seeing us, Agnieszka. Hi there, Martin. Cool. Hi there. And maybe a second entertaining question. Where are you from? 3 years. I like that. Hi. Everything is okay. Cool. And where are you from, guys? Poland, Holland, Germany, India. Cool. UK, Sweden. Cool. No one from Poland? No, Agnieszka is probably from Poland. Okay. Netherlands. Perfect. So I my guess was right. Holland. Okay. So if we are visible, Bart, just say something. Maybe we'll just test a little bit. Hi.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, cool. So I'm assuming that also you are hearing Bart correctly. So thank you for joining us today, guys. What I want to say from the beginning, please click and subscribe our Executive Automats YouTube channel. Link should be visible within seconds in the chat section. And okay, I think we can start the show today. So just a few words of introduction. We are X+. We specialize in Dynamics ERP implementation. Also, we have a scope of products helping our clients to solve their everyday tasks using the Dynamics environment. I'm Rafał Nyszewski, and I will be your moderator for this webinar, Automated End-to-End Testing for Dynamics 365 FSCM. Again, I'm glad that you have joined us today. As usual, we have prepared you something special. It will be a live demo of world-best automated testing suite for Dynamics 365 environment, Executive Automats. A couple housekeeping things before we get started. The chat is on. We already tested. It's working, so it's cool. So you can ask questions during the webinar using this chat area. Also, we are recording this webinar. We will send a link to this recording to the email address which you have registered with. So please be aware of that. And today, together with me, Bartosz Szpiech, our global product manager. And through all those 10 years, he has been configuring and experimenting with the different ERP systems to help business transform into the digital area and era. In 2019, Bart took around 300 international flights, quite a lot, to help the informational business. So aside of the test automation, he specialized in the security law-based configuration in Dynamics, providing full project leadership in this area. Probably you have heard about the Secure Setup Wizard, so he's also an expert in that. Moving forward to today's webinar agenda. First, we will do a short introduction about the Executive Automats with typical challenges of the ERP end-to-end process testing. Afterwards, we will move to the executive automate showcase, use case scenarios focused on end-to-end testing, all live. At the end, we'll perform a live Q&A session. In the middle of the presentation, just before the Q&A session, we'll provide you something quite special, so please stay with us till the very end. Okay, so now, top 5 challenges of the ERP end-to-end processes testing. Usually, it's in a chaos. Just with even with the dedicated team of testing, probability of the human error just increase with every step when you are getting closer to the deadline. Imagine, in the third point, imagine that you have a 5 test cases, 3 test cases per hour, and you are being distracted somehow, and so on. So we can easily count that it will take around like 160 hours, so around 20 man days to complete the whole regression test plan. It's definitely too long. Fourth point, 20 man days times 8 is like 160 man days. And yes, you remember how the man days hour rate are increased significantly since the beginning of the year. It's way too expensive. Fifth point, it is a common problem that companies are not sure if they are doing the testing in the most convenient and optimal way. There is no easy to find information or guidelines on how to approach those projects. And for all those points, the solution is automated testing. If you will choose EA, you will use your business users in the test planning and test design phase, and you may even use them to help you with the recording of the test process. But after the test scripts are done, they will be executed on the server side, and your SMEs will be only consulted on the error basis. The solution for point 2, the reliability will be increased because the machine physically is operating like 24 hours per 7 days. Third solution, the speed will be improved for 2 weeks to a few hours due to the increasing of the execution of the tests. Fourth solution, the cost will be significantly lower than the manual testing costs. Of course, the first year will be investment, but from the second year and onwards, it's tens of the thousands savings every year. And sixth, last but not least, the solution here is the experience partner, like X+. But the decision to go with the test automation and which tool to select is the part of your own test strategy. So why EA is better than other solutions? So the 100% scripts may be recreated. It's way faster than usual used RSAT, like 2 to 5 times faster. Integration is not limited to the 365 environment. You can easily use it for all web-based applications. Few bullet points regarding the EA usability versus RSAT. EA is like 2 to 5 times faster. It's like 50% more test automatable, and all scripts are 100% maintainable. Just short graph, which is shown on this slide, showing the return on investment comparison versus EA and RSAT. So as you can see, you can easily receive the return on investment for the first year like 122%. The assumption here is like 600 test cases, 50% automatable, 4 test cycles per year, and 20% scripts are maintained per year. So we are just moving forward to the showcase of the executive automates here. So part, the stage I think is right now yours.
Thank you so much, Rafa, for the intro and walking us through the challenges that we all are facing concerning the testing in Dynamics. Um, and that's a huge pleasure that we got so many people, so many new people, so many people which are actually visiting from time to time the webinars. So yeah, I would love to show you today a bit more new stuff. So even the people which are not for the first time here will see something important, see some new elements we are developing, because the executive automats, along with automated boost and some other products, I'm proud of with the team we are developing lately. They're extending and they're expanding in different directions. I'm gonna try to elaborate today on the material of test automation, but test automation connects very deeply and very intensively with multiple other things. So I would like to show you a little bit of the byproducts you can get from the test automation. It's all about processes. It's all about performing some process on dynamic side. So we can leverage that. And we can get a lot from security perspective, from performance perspective, from organic process optimization perspective, or actually from overall process automation and process optimization. So today, this will be actually the first time when you're going to see on the executive automats session a bit of the process mining functionalities which we've embedded into our Dynamics application. I'm going to show you new elements regarding the SSRS reports automation. This will be just a sneak peek, but just want to give you a feeling, a taste what's coming from the development team in June. We are actually preparing a bigger release that we would like to share with you, share with community on the 10th of June in Glasgow, Scotland, on Scottish Summit. So feel invited for the session. We're going to be there as a sponsors, as well as in Orlando in October. So these are two venues we're going to meet us in person. And then definitely we can discuss in more details elements that you're interested in. But indeed, we got a Q&A session on every of those webinars. So we would love to share with you everything that you are thinking of regarding automation, because every idea which is coming from webinars, from sessions like these, or the demos we do, or trials, they are connected into the one big roadmap. And the way how we are developing the software is so-called community-driven roadmap. So community tell us what to do, we review, we talk with partners, we convert that into the epic stories in our DevOps, and it goes through the pipeline. A lot to talk about. Let's start with test automation. So we're going to get the ground running. And yeah, please write questions on the chat. We're going to come back to them later on the Q&A to address everything that you've got some doubts about, or maybe we should investigate some topics a little bit more. So on the screen, what you see right now is Executive Automats. This is our presentation layer, presentation application. One of the biggest benefits of Executive Automats is that it is staying aside of Dynamics. You are not installing anything on Dynamics side. This is purely connecting to your instances of Dynamics by proxying methods. So the implementation is as quick as possible, as simplified as possible. You are just setting up Executive Automats. It might be on-prem, it might be on cloud, and then you are in Executive Automats defining your environments you're going to work with. So UATs, dev, tests, pre-prod, all of these. They can be defined in the settings area. And then in here, the scripts can be identified or understood as business processes, as a test case, all environments. So every environment can be defined, and Executive Automats can be a one centralized platform of testing for your entire company. Yeah, so this is all about the scripts. As you may see here, we've got different names. There are some naming convention of the scripts. There are some elements like the statuses. And actually, those two are very important because they are referring to a methodology and ideas how you can build your test automation. Because we see that the product on its own, it is not enough. You have to have the methodology, you have to have training sessions, and some inspirations, some proofs how to work with test automation in the one version cycle to make it successful. Because lately, when we were collaborating with AX 2012, and actually Executive Automats has its roots in AX 2009, then we've upgraded to 2012, and finally to finance and operations. In the old days, in the good old days of 2009 and 2012, we were able to do releases once for a year. Sometimes it was half mid-year release, and everything was going good. Now the number of releases is actually a little bit different, and it goes even higher numbers considering the KB packages you can install. But maybe let's not focus on the details. But the number of releases is increasing into the number of 4 or 5 or more, depending on the industry and or policy within the Microsoft releases. So this is something which put us on the situation where we have to test and we have to build a proper solution, and we have to have a proper processes, procedures, methodology, make sure that we test enough and avoid all of those problems of which Rafael was mentioning at the beginning. To get insight into the Executive Automats, you need to have your account. So you can't go just like that. You need to create your account. There are different roles. There are different privileges which you can get. So it simply means that you can have test managers and testers employed here, and they can work and they can have a specific privileges like accessing the scripts and then publishing the script or setting the script as a ready for review. This means that the team can collaborate, and when the tester is recording the business process, then they can say, I've done my job, the test is ready for review, test manager can review and apply some additional elements, and then they can publish that, and by publishing, it lands in finance, in the Azure DevOps, so ADO, and then you can treat ADO as a continuous integration, continuous development platform. So we've got a very tight integration with Azure DevOps. So all of the functionalities like pipeline releases, creating items, they are possible. We're going to see that in just a moment. Let's focus on one of the most important elements, which is the simplicity and reusability. If you would like to create new script, you just hit script or project, then you click add, and then you are defining the area where we're going to record. So we're going to do a simple process focused on accounts receivable module. And this actually dictionary is up to you. You can build your own dictionary, which reflects your organization. So this can stand for different hierarchies, different modules, different organization areas, and so on. Just to make sure that when you are working for organization, identifying the processes and then mapping them, you are making sure that you've got a full coverage. When you are building the process, when you're recording the process, it is good to set some naming convention, which will actually tell you a little bit what we are recording, what kind of variant we are recording. Thanks to that, you are testing exactly what you wanted, and communication with the users is exact, because if somebody wants to test sales order international creation, it will have different behavior comparing to sales order domestic customer. Different mechanisms, different integrations, a lot of different things can happen, and you are actually testing different part of the system. So it is good to be precise. It is good to have a naming convention. The project, the aggregation level we talk about, this is giving us a little bit more. The project also gives us environment and the virtual user. Environment, as we discussed, UAT, pre-prod, and all of those you set. And the virtual users, these are simply Azure Active Directory accounts which we are using for testing. So you can have defined a few of those, like different ones for different entity or with different security roles. We're going to talk about that in the later segment of the session. But they are coming from default from the project. Thanks to that, when you are thinking about recording of the process, you are not caring about any other details. You are purely focused on your test case. You just want to create your test case from the sales order creation. And you're going to see in just a moment the record and player and all of those aspects. And there's one sort of matching point of all of these: the simplicity and reusability aspect. Reusability aspect is something we care the most. We just want to make sure that your process that you record, in this example, sales order creation, will be reusable, which means that you record it once and you play it back tens or hundreds of times to make sure that the stability is delivered. So everything that you select on the fly, every customer value, every item ID, and so on and so on, this will be changeable. You can modify that by defining any other data in Excel file, apply the Excel file to the script. You can redefine the values within the script on the left-hand side. So this panel on the left-hand side, it is listing all of the steps, what you've done throughout the recording of the process. And then you've got a possibility to select something else. Thanks to that, you are able to have everything in one spot. You don't need to record once partially the process and then come back to it after rerunning, like you are doing in RSAT. Everything is simplified. Everything is one spot. There is a seamless sort of border between player and recorder. So when I'm not super sure about the subsequent steps, or if I recorded this properly, I can switch back to player. I can play back my process. I can see how system works. And if it's good, I can then continue the recording. So everything till now I recorded is actually possible for playback. And this is something we are aiming for. We are aiming for simplicity and a seamless way how you build your test case. And we say that we are simply moving through that boundaries of business context. So we are recording, we are just finding out if everything that we recorded is a proper one, if everything is working well. If yes, then I can continue the recording to just add more elements like defining the site and the warehouse and maybe some more details. I see that Dynamics is having some. This is the site. No. This is why it is needed to test Dynamics very often. You see those discrepancies and some problems on the environment. Anyway, let's jump into the header view in this case. And let's see, we've got in here a status. There's a document status with a known status. I can go to sell and then click confirm the sales. And I'm confirming the sales order, but take a look. Actually, I forgot to click record, so I can cancel that. I can come back to the lines, and this is seamless. I'm just in the business context, and the system gives me that leverage that I can simply go back. I can pause. I can make some verifications on the way. If I'm going to lose something, I can always come back and record it once again. And it is very easy to delete, to make some actions optional, and so on and so on. These are the values which we're benefiting from when you are investing in proper automation, like executive automats. And on the left-hand side, there is an information with O. This actually stands for an optional step. And dialog boxes are perfect representation of events which are happening from time to time. So you can expect that dialog box in these circumstances will happen. But if I'm going to change it, let's say change customer or change some item ID to something different, to service type, it may happen that this dialog box will not appear, which means that the process will fail because that specific step, which was expected, it is not there anymore. So the expectation is that if this step is just recorded like that without O, it is needed to be executed. It has to be executed. If there is an O, means optional, then it might be missed, which means that we are expecting that something like this can happen, but if it will not, let's continue, let's move on. And you were able to add in here multiple levels of logic. You can make a decision boxes. Let's say if the value of the transaction will be greater than 0, then jump to the furthest segment of the process. If the value will be lower than 0, then continue. So you are able to make those logical verifications, which are checking how the process should behave. So you can have like alternative path of the execution. And then the alternative paths and the verification, or some, let's say, logical verification of the process, can be also used for verification of the actual test case. And the verification has a very big benefits, because here I can verify the status of the SO. And the logic is as following. System is going through the sales order creation, confirms that, and then I'm saving the value of the status as a variable, and automatically system is verifying if the value from the field status is equal to confirmation. If it is yes, then we've got a success. If not, then we've got else, which is a warning message. And then system pops up with the message telling you that something is wrong. So this simply outlines that we are focusing on the happy path testing just to verify if everything is going good and we've got like a success, stability, plus we are focusing on the results. So verification of a transaction, verification of everything that you are performing from the tax perspective, if it is in the boundaries, if the status is adequate, and so on, so on. And lastly, the negative testing, which simply verifies the error messages. So we are expecting to fail and we are checking if the message is exact. So with that being said, and actually extending the script, I can pause my recorder once again. I can come back to the player again and continue the process. But due to the fact that we've got multiple things to show you, I'm gonna just show you one more thing on the left-hand side on the editing, and we're gonna dive into the documentations and so on. So we were discussing a bit the flexibility of the mechanisms, the reusability. So when you are recording and you've done that selection of item ID A0001, you can modify that. You can use A02 or A03 or anything else, which is in EcoRes products. You can actually take anything else from Excel file. So you can drop the Excel file on the in the recorder, and then you can pick here as a data source, an external source, which will provide you, let's say, customers, products, sites, and warehouses. And this is going to be perfect way for running over and over 10 times accordingly to number of rows in the Excel file, 10 iteration of the sales creation to verify multiple scenarios. And lately, we started to collaborate with one of the companies, and one of the first scripts they created was the process for sales creation. They are very regulated, and they've got that process called a golden process. So the process which is existing in multiple entities. And I think they applied about 30 lines in the Excel file, and they've executed the file, the script against those 30 lines. Each line is a different entity. As a result, they are verifying with one test case whole company process of sales, and this gives some results. And that was working perfectly, and it was quite nice to handle. On the other hand, we had another customer which created quite the same logic. They are also regulated, but they exceeded to 120 lines. So it actually started to be very robust, as one script was going through 120 different scenarios. But the report out of that script was actually humongous. It was 60 megabytes of results of the transaction. So different things are sort of visible lately on the market, how people are using this tool, how extensive it can be. But we are very glad that something like this can happen, because this is just a challenge for us and something to solve, which we really like, especially the development team. Anyway, aside of this, you were able to use global constants. So this is a definition of very oftenly used values. So imagine that you were having 5 or 10 different values that you are very often used throughout the test cases. You can define them all. You can define them all in the system, and then you are having this dictionary. You can apply that to the tens of the scripts, and modification of the dictionary has direct impact on the same moment for every script. So update of your database of the test cases will be immediate. And that's very important because the global constant introduced in the version 4.0, they are just giving you, again, a bunch of new values to maintain the reusability of the scripts. Scripts, this stands for actually a variables. So imagine you were creating customer and then creating sales to that customer, simple stuff. This is simply a end-to-end transaction, so you can actually build a significantly long transaction with over hundreds of steps. So you are able to build an end-to-end scenario that verifies practically most of your organization. There were a lot of different scripts, a lot of different ideas. We've seen an example, a process which was taking 500 steps long, from identification of opportunity to conversion of the sales, to starting the master planning, warehouse transactions, production continuation, BOM, and so on, so on. At the end of the day, customer received the goods, invoicing, and collections. And actually, this whole process in the on the production side, it took about 3 months. So in the real world, in the test cases, when it was executed, it was 1 hour. But it was it was some kind of a golden process which verified the idea that company works good. So they were executing this process over and over, day by day, to verify the core element of the organization, if it works. And lastly, sequences. Of course, there are a lot of things we discussed, but we're going to focus on those key ones. The sequences. This stands for number sequences. So you can imagine a business process. Let's say you are creating a customer, and customer John Smith exists in the system. So you can do that once, but the second time it will just fail. So if you're going to use number sequences and set this for the name, for the surname, maybe for some address, you are able to create hundreds of records without verifying that, or without your manual intervention. The invoice IDs, product receipt IDs, there are very different fields in Dynamics which are requiring uniqueness of the data. So in here, you can utilize the number sequences, which will take that reusability aspect to the higher level. And this is one of the recommendation. Everywhere you go, everything what you use from the uniqueness of the data, this will be a perfect solution. So with that being said, I can finally close down the recorded panel. Let's say the process was recorded perfectly. We have everything that we wanted. And now we just want to execute the test case for the last time, just to see, to verify the stability. So I can run that not in the foreground as previously, but right now in the background. The background mode gives me the possibility to create the documentation as well. I can create the documentation or the video. This is one of the new features which we introduced. So system is dispatching the execution on the worker side in the background. And this actually opens up another history another story I can share with you. We actually wanted to give to the customers the possibility to run tens or hundreds of test cases in a short period of time. So naturally, we decided to create a workers. So right now, system is executing that in background. So process is executing the sales creation, and I can actually run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and more sessions in the background, which these workers are simulating the real users. They've got exact actions simulating those business accounts. And we decided to actually step forward and create performance testing, which will be a very nice sort of simulation, the first life after go live of your environment. And we were able to perform a lot lately, with exceeding of 600 users working in parallel on the environment, to verify that the blueprints which were set by Microsoft were not enough, and we prevented the organization to fail on the day first of the organization day life. This was on cloud tier 5 environment. We had on-premises performance testing as well, actually a few of them with different setups. So this possibility to run test case in background just open up a different doors for another pair of byproducts regarding performance testing and actually giving the results of your test automation as soon as it's possible. In the meantime, we see the execution system went through our extended process we just recorded. And if you're going to take a look, we actually recorded that process in a matter of few minutes, and we were able to run this multiple times. We are able to verify the results, and confirmation is equal confirmation. So the process went through exactly how we wanted. At the end, we've got the documentation, which is right now in video type. So if I'm going to download that and I'm going to play this for myself, I can understand that in a few directions. I can think of this video as introductory, in some kind of a instructions for the specific account, for a specific user, what they should do for the process, what they can select to make sure that they are performing the right process. So perfect explanatory for new employees. This might be a perfect bug recreation. So if the developer wants to understand what exactly should be done here to get that bug sort of visible, so they can provide a fix, and this might be a perfect solution for them to simply get exactly to the spot where the system fails. And also, what is important, if you're going to consider the documents here as an evidence of testing, we've got another solution called Automated Boost, which is dedicated for pharmacy, so for a highly regulated area, where it can actually create an evidence of testing that you've done the test on that day with that kind of results, and the tests are irreversible, and there are a lot of audit trails and so on. So it is purely for regulated industries, but this gives you the possibility to be audited from the perspective of testing. So just to give you an idea. Okay, let's come back and let's change the status. Changing the status to published gives us the possibility to make this official, so the team knows that we've created a test case. The test case is official. We can run that, and if you're gonna follow that process and you're gonna create hundreds of test cases, you're gonna publish them, you can easily build your methodology inside of organization. So when the testers are creating the test cases, or business users are recording for test cases, you are just reviewing them, matching them, published. When they are published, you are transferring them to DevOps. So when everything is published, you've got your test cases ready, you are creating your scheduler. This is a planner functionality. So let's imagine that our organization, some retail, which is right now going for the full regression testing. Regression testing of sprint number 4. We are running a verification of the sprint. So we would like to run everything. We would like to put the results in DevOps, and I can build the planner. So it's going to go here, and we're going to add what kind of scripts we want to execute. So I can tell the system, all right, I would like to go and execute everything from AP and AR, which is actually in published state. Going to be just few test cases, as this is a presentation environment, but they are verified. So we have 4 test cases which are going to be executed. We can set some dependencies that this case can be executed only when the first one will end, and then we have to have some delay between the first and the second one in seconds, actually in minutes. Excuse me. And when this will be ready, we're going to have the results. I can activate wait for exact date. So I have to adjust the date so it's going to be executed on the exact moment. But when it's going to be ready, we're going to have the results of the tests. So to sum up, we are asking the business users so they can record the test cases. Test manager can verify, or tester can verify, apply some number sequences just to master them, and then they can publish. Everything is available. They run with a scheduler, so they are planning the execution to execute on a certain moment of a day, of a week, and then if something goes wrong, they can put down the status from publish to ready for review again, or draft, so they can work on the bug fix, on the problem. When they've got the fix, they are fixing the script so to adjust to the new circumstances, and then once again republish and rerun the test cases. It is simple, it just needs to practice, but there are very easy methodologies how to use executive automates in the combination of Azure DevOps, and then you are able to gain a massive value out of that. And I was mentioning the integration with Azure DevOps, and as mentioned, you are able actually to create work items very quickly. If you can identify error message in the execution of your test case, you are able to find out that, all right, I understand what exactly happened. I can create work item. So system, by connecting via API keys, is creating an issue on DevOps side. It takes a little bit longer time, so I think we might have some slowness on the ADO today, but it would create an issue on ADO side. I can, let's give it a second try. I can then apply that that issue. This is one of the example. I can apply that issue to the user, and then let's say Peter. Rafael, I'm audible. Maybe I have some internet issues.
No, you are visible. You are audible. So
thank you so much. I see that there is some problem with DevOps that I can't even apply users. So disable communications to DLs. All right. So maybe there is some update on the DevOps side. That's why system is having some trouble. So maybe we can leave that, and I'm gonna just walk you through this. You are able to create issues, bugs from executive automates on ADO. You are able to create test plans, test suite, and test cases on ADO. And you are able to embed your test cases into the pipelines. This is the scale of the integration. And when you are thinking about testing, and when you are thinking about identification of the business processes, you can think of a few ways. Of course, some companies we are talking with, they are telling, guys, we've got these number of documentations, we want to convert them into test cases. Perfect way. They know what they want, they know exactly what is the coverage, but this is a rare situation. Most of that customers, they don't have actually the coverage, so we are talking about some possibilities how to create test cases. One of the options is to ask the business users so they can record their processes. Then they are transferred here into executive automates. Test manager, they are mastering them by applying number sequences. They are combining end-to-end test cases, so on. And then it is good you are able to have the coverage. So there is a transfer of the business user knowledge into the IT department. That's one of the nice options, but you have to engage the business users quite a lot. But we can say this is the most popular lately, that you were doing these exercises, and we are having some tips and tricks around that as well. But I would like to show you something new, something which is called an Executive Explorer. And this is an agent which is applied to finance and operations. So you're installing this or on AX 2012 or finance and operations. And this agent is doing something very important, or very actually tricky for some moments, as there's a lot of machine learning mechanism behind that. The agent is listening into the environment to outline what kind of processes you are actually doing there, what kind of processes are having a potential of automation. So we've got some scales which are telling you that in the environment, there is a new invoice journal, which is a process executed 482 times. And actually, it's a very simple process. It has just the clicks. So there is a possibility to optimize that. I'm sorry, I was logged out. And I can see exactly how the process is going through on the graphs. I can see the potential, it is high, but I can, of course, review which other process can be automated. We've got some purchase order creation, so these one can be also potentially automated. There is a cost behind the process, and by identifying the length of the process and the way how users within those 400 times are going through the process, you can find some optimizations. So imagine that you've got that listener applied to your environment, and you're going to suddenly realize that every time that when users are jumping into the purchase orders, they are filtering or sorting the purchase table with their query, and this query calculation takes 30 seconds or 15 seconds, however is going to go, but there might be different tables, different views, and they are always doing the filtering. This is very often very hard to verify or to find out. Within this kind of solutions, you are able to find out this behavior of the users, of the business users, that is making a lot of savings, because you can create out of the box or very quickly some optimization for them to limit their to maximize their effectiveness and limit their waiting time. So you were able to find out which process is the most costful, where to focus on from the perspective of cost optimization, from the perspective of business process optimization, or maybe some distribution of tasks in a specific area if they are a bottleneck. You are also able to go to process in here or forms in here, and these statistics are telling you which users are mostly focused on a specific process. So I'm able to tell that there are multiple people focused on customer creation process or PO creation process. How many times I'm going to show that actually in the heat map. How many times a specific user were doing that specific process per day, and thanks to this, actually per month. Thanks to this, I'm able to find some additional verification on the from the perspective of the optimization, or from the perspective of audits, from the perspective or some audit trials. So if you would like to check why somebody changed some value in the system, these elements are of course possible. This was from perspective of the processes, but also you can do that from the perspective of the forms itself. So you can see if the specific form is used and how many times within a month time. Of course, these pivot tables can be customized, so you can see this on your own, and this doesn't mean that you're going to see that per month. You can see that per day. If this is needed, a lot of options can be turned on here to even extract more information. But this gives you some kind of a understanding what will be the potential implementation look like, what to transform or what I shouldn't remove from the system because it is actually used. Sometimes we are asking ourselves if this scope of the system is fully used, and should we upgrade that into the finance and operations from AS2012. So why we are having actually this, the reason is very simple. In years back, we were doing something called organic process optimization with executive automates. And we've done a very nice study on accounting team on one of our customer site. There were about 50 accountants working on one process. And we asked few of those accountants to record one of the core processes of the invoice registration. And it came out that of 5 of those people, they were doing the same process in a totally different way. And there was one person which had personalization, which were using the shortcuts, and the personalization actually was filtering grids, and there are some other kung fu, which is actually known for people which are working a lot with Dynamics or they have multiple years of experience. But the results were astonishing. Out of those 50 users, we were able to tell that the one person found out the quickest possible way how to work with the system. So these changes, those personalization, were applied to the others, and the savings were actually on the spot. They were able to do the same for everybody, and everybody was working with a new concept. They were not clicking through the system once again. They were using favorites, they were using shortcuts, and they were able to speed up the effectiveness of the users. This and much, much more can be found, can be extracted by the investigation. And these Executive Explorer processes, because actually I came here to show you this feature, like post-invoice journal. In example here, it's quite a lot of steps which users are doing. This agent was carefully listening to the system, he identified this process, and I can actually generate a template of this process, save it as a file, and import it here into the executive automats. So I don't need to record that process anymore. I'm able to work with that process as a script just now. So system imported the exact steps which were done by the user, and I'm able to play it back to post the journal of the AP payment, AP invoice. I can extend that. I can actually apply this to the end-to-end test case. So a lot of potential is coming from in here. So this study and this entire project is going on widely lately. We've got a lot of new mechanism and algorithms which are invented and helping out with the system. So you can expect even more. If you're going to be interested in the Executive Explorer, just let us know so we can focus with you on this. The last point is actually a bonus for our frequent for our users which are very frequently with us. Let me just open up the script. I forgot the name. Actually, we can start the Q&A, and in the meantime, I'm going to just have one bonus for our frequent guests. So you're going to see the SSRS reports, which we lately are automating by the machine learning mechanism that we are deploying with the new version of Executive Automats. So you're going to see this. Okay, I've got it, so I can show you.
Okay, I just wanted to start the Q&A session. So okay, follow that.
So yeah, lately the roadmap we set for this year is extensive, and we dedicated one of two resources, two architects to work on that identification and stability. So the new extended mechanism will allow you to do more. There are more ways how we are identifying that the object is on the exact spot where it was recorded. So we are putting the stability of the executive automats on the new level by identifying experts with machine learning. And this actually gave us the possibility to work even with so custom and randomized forms as a reports, as SSRS reports. So lately we recorded some SSRS reports which are opening them, which are browsing on them and checking some data. And we are doing it more and more R&D on that to give you the possibility to record a process, to post an invoice, to verify if the address is correct, if the invoice ID is present, and check some other parameters just to search and verify more and more from your testing. So as you see, we are doing quite a bit of game changers lately. And I hope in June, if you're going to be on the summit, you're going to be able to see more or talk about that with us, or actually see that on the trial on the June releases, to see that in person, how much we've actually improved the executive automats. This and much more we're going to have on the Executive Automats YouTube channel. So please subscribe and search for more details. Let's right now start the Q&A session, as I think we've got some questions.
Yeah, we have received several questions. Thank you for that, guys. And Bart, that was amazing. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. What is worth mentioning again here is just, guys, click and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because you will be up to date with each release of the Executive Automats and new things which we are bringing up within this next weeks, to be honest. So, so one more thing. The EA trial. You already seen that on the chat section. We have shared the link for register for the free trial of the Executive Automats. Feel free to click on it and go with us in this journey of the automated testing for this Dynamics 365 environment. Okay, so going forward to the Q&A session. Maybe I would just see how many questions we just received, and we'll start far from the beginning. The first question, I will show that right now. Can use EA for other products, maybe D365's customer engagement SharePoint at least? Yes, correct. The executive automats is automate. Sorry, Bart, I'm taking this. It's quite easy, you know.
The CE is actually something new which we're going to handle within
Yeah.
the new version. This machine learning mechanism, which one of the biggest challenges on CE is actually the stability. And since 2016, we are visiting different summits. We see that there are so many test automation tools for customer engagement CRM on the unified interface, and we are aiming for that the new machine learning mechanism which will allow us to do the testing on the CE of Dynamics. But SharePoint is actually possible. We've got some cases. The most of our stability and the goodness which comes from executive automates is of course focused on finance and operations, and you can expect everything to be available there. The other platforms, they might have some limitations, but we are here for you. There are some workarounds you can use to automate Salesforce, Tracelink, Viva, other ERP systems. We are open for some challenges.
Thank you for extending this answer of mine. Okay, well, so I see that there's another question which was I would say has appeared during your showcase. I will just bring it on the screen. What is the plus between the line number and the labor in the recording section? I would just show maybe again the executive automats. Bart, if you may.
What is the plus between line number?
Probably there's the question was considering the how we can expand the list of the recorder, and there is a plus in the recorder showing the description of the step. If we go there for the 1 second.
Recording section, the plus.
You see?
Line number. Exactly. This is the expansion where you can expand the options, and here you can use, as we discussed, the pickers, these Excel file variables, even JavaScript coding as an expression, some uppercases, lowercases, substrings. Everything in here can be done by this. So these elements are actually opening up some advanced, and there is advanced fields which are giving you also the idea how system is working, how it identifies some elements visible on the screen.
Thank you. And the third question was, I was already put it on the screen. What are the key differences than RSAT and Azure DevOps testing tools available?
Sure. One of the biggest benefits and the key differences of executive automates comparing to RSAT is simply the maintenance and the simplicity. You are spending much less time in executive automates conducting the same thing which you are doing in RSAT. So you are spending much less time. The configuration is easier. The maintenance is easier. You don't need to have your Excel files ready locally available for your script execution. So the distribution and the working with the team is much easier in executive automates. These elements here in RSAT, they simply don't work very often. So you are not able to record some elements of Dynamics with RSAT, which is quite confusing. One of the biggest sort of challenges people had in RSAT was when Microsoft released the new grid controls, practically 99% of the test cases failed. So they had to be redeveloped, which actually placed quite a bit of challenge on the market. The new grid controls were introduced in update 50 and previously as a on by default in update 45 of Dynamics. This was the event which happened. Aside of that, you've got those benefits that these test cases that we create here, they can be converted to documentation very easily with a corporate template. These scripts, they can actually be converted into the roles, duties, and privileges, which much more extended context. So you are able to use your test cases for security creation. You are able to use your test cases with security development. and let's say run specific process in the system against a specific business role. So this puts you on the even higher level of verification. So let's say I'm checking if my sales order creation can be done by accounts payable clerk, which will be impossible. So I'm going to have the error result. But in our side, you have to run this against the admin account, which limits the capabilities. Lastly, of course, there are a little bit more points, and we're going to have a bit
You can
of
have a separate session about those
yeah.
differences. And
Lastly, in our side, you can't run so easily the parallel sessions, which and those dependencies that something has to end before you're going to run something else. These dependencies and the way how you were testing the system, they've got very important results, because when you were running in singular sales creation process, you might have no issues. But if you're going to run sales creation, master planning, recalculation, discrepancy, then you may realize that in the same moment they are overlapping and you're creating deadlocks. So in singular session, you will never know that. And if you don't have that dependency, you will never have that capability to verify that different mechanisms, different, capabilities which can happen on production only because there are multiple tens or hundreds of people doing daily business.
And one more thing which is worth mentioning, I will say the usability of RSAT is quite hard. You cannot dedicate the SME or the key user to record the test case. This is the idea. Okay, that's the next question. Why can't just play the video document inside the executive automats instead downloading it? Well,
why?
How to? Yeah.
Basically, we could make it happen. I don't know. We didn't. There is a sub platform we've got called Documentation Wizard, which is some kind of a variation of executive automats. So you treat it as a knowledge-based platform, and then there we could think about that. But indeed, these elements are for knowledge sharing, just to help you with onboardings of the users with the test automation. We're gonna definitely think about that, embedding the player in the system. Mm-hmm.
It's possible. It's doable. We'll think about that. Is there any possibility to send the test cases from LCS or Azure DevOps to EA?
Not that direction. We've got just EA to Azure DevOps, because the elements you've got on the RSAT recoding simply, which probably you are referring to RSAT, they are different technology, and they've got different hooks. They've got different sort of methods of identification of the element. So as we are not compatible, we don't have the capability to convert RSAT to EA. So this actually also limits that the possibility to import test cases from LCS to EA.
Next
but if
question.
you've got test automation in LCS, or in Azure DevOps, it is a perfect moment to convert them, of course, by re-recording them. But that's a very short story. It doesn't need so much man days to be done.
Another question for the same person. How easy is to identify the reason if the test case ends with the end error? Well, you see in the history of the execution in the executive automats, each script which was taken there, so you can easily afterwards you have. Sorry, Bart, maybe you would like to answer. I just
No, you were right.
Yeah.
You were exactly right. Everything is in executive automat, so a script ends with warning or error, it will be visible in the history. You're going to have a proper communication, which will tell you that something error out. So you can see successes, you can see warning messages, and if something goes wrong, no filter options, you'll be able also to see some screenshots, which can be valuable asset. You can also make a negative testing, as mentioning. So if you're expecting error message on the specific place, you are able to override the status. So these are the possibilities. And the error message, of course, if it happens, can be converted into the bug on the DevOps side. That specific platform, I don't have a lot of error messages, which might be more meaningful.
Okay, but maybe I will just, if you would like to, possess more information about those error handling, you can also maybe check out our latest webinars. I would say from the executive automates, which will be taken like in February or March. So there are some key takeaways which could be useful for answering your questions here. Maybe we'll just go to the next one, Bart.
Mhm.
The question is from our fan Martin. So the repos looks really good. Is it possible to validate repos that are generated as the PDFs, such those from pipes like LaserNet ISVs?
Mhm. So the possibilities are ending if the PDF is embedded as the iframe. So in simple explanation, we are able to identify objects when they are mostly singular on the site. If the PDF which you are mentioning is final PDF and it is, we can say, not a granular element, but it is a solid one, a PDF, which doesn't, distinguish
Tables,
customer
arrays,
name, IDs. It is
correct.
just visible as a PDF. We will be not able to do that. If there is some kind of a transition of it where it is visible and system shows all of those elements separately, we'll be able to do that. Not yet, but maybe in the future. This is on the roadmap, but as R&D, we want to make this something like a parsing of PDF into the flat file, and then make some JavaScript search full text searches to verify if certain data is in the PDF. So this is something we're gonna do as an R&D, and probably it will be doable. We just need to find out the perfect library for us.
Okay. The next one. We are having quite a lot today, so that's good. Can same test be played through the different environments, or have to be recorded on the environment automated that the tests are executed?
Perfect question. Indeed, the test case on the general, it has the definition of the system. So if you're going to record and test, you can rerun on dev. If you're going to record on dev, you can rerun on 3 other environments. You just need to change the environment on the general side. That's the simplest way. And of course, if you're going to build a regression against your environment, let's say we are testing UAT with 100 test cases. If you're going to then override the environment on the top of your plan, it's going to be re-executed on dev, on test, on pre-prod. So this is the manner. The test case is a template which has the parameter of user, so different access rights, different roles, and the environment, different systems. So we can rerun the same thing over and over with different places. Of course, we need to make sure that data is there. So there might be a need for data entity, ideally. So just to make sure that the data you're going to consume for the test cases will be there.
Okay, we can go to another one from Robert. Is there a way to import the ersatz, probably test cases, to EA?
No. Unfortunately, not yet, and I don't expect, as the technology is totally different. We are able to help you with the transition. That's not a big deal. When you've got the test cases, we've got some synergy. You can have some value out of it, but there is no tool right now to convert them one-to-one easily.
And the last one, as I see in the chat section, how is the support for the warehouse app in the test cases done? Very bad in ersat.
Yeah, true. Thank you, Thomas, for that. Actually, that's quite funny how it's going on the RSET. There are 2 applications. There is a warehouse WHS execute, the emulator, which we work with, but due to the Microsoft, changes. We don't know anymore if we should use that. We're not recommending. We are mostly using that warehouse mobile validation app coming from Microsoft. So because this is the only way how you can test mobile from the website, unfortunately. So we are some kind of a equal in that case, but I'm not super certain that you are able to automate that from the RSO perspective. So maybe to expand that in the system, I don't know if we've got exact here which has that this functionality, but there is something called warehouse task validation app, which verifies the stability of the environment. Yeah, maybe not for today.
Maybe not for today, but I think. But okay. Well, so we are pretty much equal here.
Yeah, maybe not super equal, but we know that there's a problem. But you can use the standard application and plan the execution. You can get the results. So these elements are definitely possible, but it will be hard to do anything on the top of that. Or if you're going to build some very custom tools for mobile testing, that might be an option.
Okay, the last question for today session. Can executive automates be used for documenting business process like task recorder in AX, probably AX 2012, Dynamics AX 2012? Yes, correct.
Yes.
Exactly.
You can add some comments. You can use some corporate templates. So a lot can be done with it.
Okay. So
I see there's one more question.
Oh, yeah, there's one more. Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I haven't seen that. Can we automate integrate application scenarios like Salesforce? Yes, every web-based application should be handled by executive automates.
Actually, Salesforce was one of the longer end-to-end we've done for some company in Denmark, and it was quite nice to see
Salesforce, Magento, and all those e-commerce web applications. Those POCs were already taken by us, so we have a lot of proof of concept that executive automates is just working with that. Okay, but I think we just a little bit exceed the time. But we have a quite huge question and answer session today. But all of the questions which weren't answered today or you would like to ask, you can go to us. You can reach us, me and my colleague Preston here. Just reach us, write us an email or ping us by cell phone number. We will be happy to respond to your emails. And well, for that being said, thank you, guys, for participants. Thank you, Bart. And have a great day ahead. And hopefully, counting, we'll meet again in the next iteration of the webinar. And don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel.
And be on the Glasgow the 10th of June.
Exactly. Scottish Summit. Exactly.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.